Hampshire Attorney General, which I found to be unsatisfactorily vague. We sent an inquiry to the New Hampshire Securities and Exchange Commission, and to date have not heard boom.
And that's where we left it.
And that's where we left it, and probably it's time for somebody to follow up with the New Hampshire SEC, which I could volunteer to do.
Well, what we could do is just put a letter on top of the letter, said we sent this to you back in that, and have enough receipt to reply.
Would you be willing to do that, Kelly?
Yes. Thank you,
I put a big smiley face at the bottom.
Absolutely.
And some hearts for Valentine's Day.
Sure. Some emojis?
I don't know if this is still true or not, but right after the flood, I met the guy who was the commissioner of the Securities and Exchange Commission. What a stiff. Just, I mean, talk about the man in the empty suit.
Yeah, there you go. Last but not least, these are all quick fire stuff. I actually called Dennis Molesky on the land up there. I haven't heard back from him yet. But either way, there's that land. There's also land that's up on Lake Warren there out in Shadowland there too. The vehicles were just basically stuck signs in the windows and blah blah blah. But something like selling a piece of land, I think number one, we need to list it longer. Number two, I'd like to get some signs made up, something that looks a little more professional, like you can get to Vistaprint. I was looking online; it's like $50 for a couple of signs, or I think it's actually less than that. But you know, signs that you actually put out on the road and go to the municipal bid to bid on it and stuff. I didn't know if that would be something that selectmen would be interested in doing.
Given all the money you managed to generate with this scheme this year, I'd say why not? And they could be more permanent.
Right, yeah, we go, basically municipal bid type thing, and then I can put a place in the bottom, just put the number.
Just gonna look like a real estate sign.
Exactly, yeah, exactly, that's all I'm looking for, is something like that. Put up. I want to hear back from Dennis first before, see if he's done anything with the planning board.
Pending a reasonable quote on that, I have no problem with it.
That's the biggest piece. Those little pieces in Shadowland would probably
small,
be
yeah.
people next to them that would be interested.
And I think I've had this discussion before, but I'm not sure if you were on it, because this is a while ago we started this ball rolling. My thought was to all the abutters send certified letters to let them know that the property would be going for sale through municipal bid, just to kind of let them know. Because actually, I think one of them last time was a butter that bid on it last time. When we turned down the bid, I think, if I remember right.
Yeah, we need to.
We turned the bid down because
$2,000.
Oh, I have we have more than that. We should have sold it down, but of course it was on the market. It was coming down. Yeah, the big piece. The market. I got the minute still from that because the market was coming down. We were figuring we were going to get a boatload of money for it, but the market was crashing. And right now, the best time to list was would probably be in the spring. Get it out there, somebody's going to be looking. Yeah. So anyway,
quite sure we're all for it.
so I'll get farmer figure
I have
out.
a number from Vistaprint when it passes. I've used them, they're good.
Yeah.
They seem reasonably priced to me.
Yeah, they are. I think it was like $13 a sign and then $3 a stand or something like that.
40% site wide right now.
Yeah, I'm on it, yeah, so, yeah.
I'll check my inbox, see if I got a coupon.
Yeah, I think I got some on my phone. For that.
Staples will do it too.
Yeah. But it wouldn't be much of an investment, I think, to advertise a piece of property that we could be pulling some pretty decent money for, hopefully.
If you get that sign under 12, then it's more than that.
I don't know why you couldn't, because it is still muni bid, right?
Yeah.
And why you couldn't use that for even a vehicle or something at one time, you could post it out in front of it.
Oh, yeah,
You could use it, not just.
just put it on the road instead of
Oh,
sticking my
great.
street for sale signs in the windows.
Yeah, because then they get up there and they say they can't, they have to go on muni bid and they're all looking.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, scratched down.
It's scratched down.
It's municipal.
Municipal, yeah.
MUNICIBID. Getting the muni bid won't help a bit.
Yeah. That's about it for now, for me.
Have you got any more equipment that that you think we ought to entertain the notion of disposing?
Well, it will depend on whether, well, actually the trail that we have is garbage anyways, but I didn't say that, no. The equipment trail, we'll probably end up putting that on. The fire truck, we'll be probably putting that on. Those things aren't bringing that much, the fire trucks. You know, 3 or 4.
Well, last time I talked to Carol, none of the vendors for the new truck had any interest.
Oh, they wouldn't, yeah.
Don't take a trade.
And the Smithsonian haven't called yet for either of those.
Yeah.
I was thinking Rich now, thank you. We're out there with it.
There is, and there's stuff up in the old railroad car up there, but that's more of a fall thing. It was a particular thing up there.
There is organizations, Firefighters Without Borders and stuff like that. I know Peterborough just donated a truck to Belize somewhere that
Volunteer to deliver it.
that it would be used somewhere, Liberia or Africa, Central America. So it's just a thought, you know, it's a couple $1,000, or actually it could probably get 20 more years somewhere that they've never seen a fire truck.
Why would we buy a new fire truck? 20 years.
But when you don't have one in Kenya, that one's awful nice.
Those poor impoverished people over in Alstead.
Yeah.
Well, that is no law, because if you go to some of these, my grandson went on the trip where they build houses,
Oh, yeah.
and on the day they were coming home, they were burning all the old sugar cane. They got stopped in the airport, couldn't take off because there was so much smoke. And as he said, if you looked out, all there was these old fire trucks.
Yeah, that's all they have.
That's all
There
they
is
had.
a lot
I
of,
thought it was funny.
you know, I would think some of maybe our equipment that could be used for that should be looked into. There's organizations that will take that and put it to use in other parts of the world where they don't have life-saving equipment.
Right. Maybe we can weigh that out, put it on this little bit, and then if we don't get anything for it, we can.
I got a letter from Zoll saying congratulations, as of March 2016, we will no longer support parts for your monitor.
Nice.
Good luck, and we're going to hope that it gets us through this year, this coming year, the cardiac monitor. So that being said, whoever needs to know that they pretty much took the we should out of this, and we're going to have to, because there will be no way to fix it. They're not supporting parts any longer.
What's the cost of it?
30,000.
Separate from the defibrillator.
No, that is the
That is, okay. Monitor, defibrillator, all that. Okay.
So I have that letter. I chose not to ask for it this year because I kind of thought it was kind of short notice. But we have a year's notice now, but we're going to have to do that.
Yeah.
Was that in the CIP plan?
No.
No. Actually, I should bring that up, but this is going to be something we're probably going to talk to the planning board with the AABC. We're talking about doing a CIP more, mine's rude and crude, but it's there, you know, something a little bit more in-depth and things like that.
That's all right.
That we would go and do.
I was just wondering if this would bring some deeper interaction between AABC and the planning board. Is that the goal, or is
That
it?
would be the goal, but I mean, if they didn't even ask me this year to come in and talk about the CIP plan, but, last year they asked me, and then I showed up and they didn't even talk about it
So,
the year before.
Jesse, would it make sense to have you author a request for proposals for that piece of equipment? stick it up on the statewide website and see who showers us with proposals. Because we may find ourselves in a situation, as we have with bridges, that halfway through the fiscal year, we actually need one of these things at the end of the week,
Correct.
rather than waiting for another full.
So I can do that, I would be willing to do that. However, kind of what's happened is one particular brand has came into the catchment area and has offered Dartmouth Hitchcock's price on the unit, which is 37% below MSRP,
I get it.
to the whole county, and everybody in the county has decided that instead of spending 48 to 50,000, they'd rather spend 30. So they've all bought this similar unit, and the hospital has bought the unit that can read these units in the field. So another vendor could, in fact, give us a better price. However, we would now be out of the system.
Right. So part of your specification should be, it should be able to communicate with the hospital systems, but still put it out there so we get bids, knowing ahead of time that those other bids are likely to be 40, 50,000.
Okay.
That's okay, let's just do the due diligence and.
Okay, not a problem.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and what I'm interested in, just as we did for the fire truck, is not a brand, but a performance.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, needs to do this, and this.
Yeah.
You write that up, I'll make sure it gets where it needs to go. And then, if we get any responses, I'll make it your responsibility to evaluate them. Yes, this will meet our needs. No, this one for $8,000 will not.
Yeah. And what do we have in capital reserve for, is it specified for ambulance or is it rescue service?
That's a good vote. I think it's for the animal.
Yeah, I think it's the ambulance.
There it is.
So, and that, I brought that up earlier, that there is some capital equipment that it would be nice to have a fund such as that, capital reserve for equipment, because.
So that could be created at next year's town meeting.
Or the voters have the opportunity to change the purpose of an existing.
Exactly.
With a simple majority.
Yeah. So they could either create a new fund that would be separate from the existing one, or they could rename the ambulance fund the Alstead Rescue
That,
Equipment Fund, or.
that fund's gonna be drained pretty soon anyway, so,
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have enough to buy the next vehicle anyways on it, so.
I understand.
I suspect we'll muddle through. Other comments or questions before we chase you all away? Going once? Choir, you've been awfully quiet. That always makes me nervous. What are you scheming about back there?
So I'll send you the gravels and,
All right.
Then I'll find out which day that we leave.
Thank you very much.